You see, I got this problem. Remakes don't like me, so I don't like remakes. Oh, and spoilers. Welcome to the channel, I'm Hayes. I talk movies all day, sometimes I talk about games. So subscribe right now if you want to be entertained. And today, I want to talk about RoboCop. Who is he? What is he? Where did he come from? And why was the 2014 remake such a terrible movie? Why is a movie with some of the best actors of modern times total trash? So here's how this goes. I'm going to go through the movie, point out all the dumb things about it, and then at the end, drop a few final thoughts. Alright, so RoboCop starts off with Nick Fury on a secret undercover mission to recruit robots into the Avengers Initiative. Spoiler, it didn't work. Well, actually, kinda did. Anyway, he's talking to a generic military general about the use of robots abroad because he wants them to be used to clean up the worst American neighborhoods without losing a single law enforcement life. Now, the robots are being used in generic terrorist-looking country to make people come out their homes and get scanned to determine whether they're a threat or not. All is well until generic-looking terrorists try to blow up the robots. The robots take care of them pretty quickly, but you gotta wonder, what exactly was their plan? Even if they destroyed the robots, they can literally just send more. And even worse, did this kid seriously bring a knife to fight an army of heavily armed machines? Are you mad? But the whole thing goes to show just how efficient the robots are. So Nick Fury has to ask, why is America so robophobic? Now it turns out after Batman retired, he started creating highly advanced robots to be used in the military and police. But there is a lot of opposition led by that guy from all those TV shows. After that, we get a slightly reworked version of Basil Polidori's original RoboCop theme while Murphy is walking to the boss lady's office to explain why his partner got shot, which quite frankly sounded like it would have made for a much more interesting opening than the let's pretend we're a serious movie nonsense they went with. Anyway, Murphy and Lewis are undercover cops pretending to be gun buyers who get a line on a big-time gun runner, Anton Valen, from a low-level criminal who I'm just gonna guess his name is Jerry. I mean, it's not like they say his name a million times in an attempt to be intimidating but come across more as a comedy routine, so I'm just guessing his name is Jerry. So they set up a meeting with Valen and Lewis wants to call for backup, but Murphy don't want a backup when he's in a jam and certainly didn't try to get a motorbike after he's been jammed just in case there's a snitch. Turns out there was a snitch and Lewis got shot. So at this point, if only two people knew they were going to see Valen and only one of them got shot, I think it's pretty clear who the snitch is. This movie could have ended right here. Maybe it should have, but it didn't. So let's just pretend that Murphy isn't the snitch. Let's just say this is the third time Lewis has got shot while going along with one of Murphy's harebrained plans. So next we get a scene where Batman is trying to convince that guy that robots are good, but the Senator's not having it. He says that machines don't know the value of human life and therefore should not be allowed to take one. First of all, I'm pretty sure that a lot of human cops don't know the value of human life either, but here we are. And even if it did know the value of human life, dead is dead. Imagine a serial killer kills a bunch of people and then leaves a note saying, well, I do know the value of human life. Like, is that supposed to make people feel better? Bruh. And then he says, because the robots won't feel anything if they kill a child. That's why 72% of Americans won't stand for it. How about we just don't kill children? You know, let's just not kill children. Because I'm pretty sure if somebody kills a kid, nobody's gonna care if the killer felt bad. So now Batman, Robin and Barbara Gordon retreat to the Batcave where they decide that in order to get the American public on board, they have to put a man inside the machine, which is kind of elite. I mean, didn't nobody think of making the robots do mold security first and see how they go there? Just went straight to decapitated humans. Like, okay. Guess he really does have a flair for the theatrics. Anyway, Batman goes to see Commissioner Gordon, who has since retired from the GPD and is now a doctor specializing in robotic limbs. Dr. Gordon wasn't really on board with the idea at first, but Batman's superpower is still being rich, so ka-ching. So now the cops from earlier who were either dumb or dirty are now shown to be both dumb and dirty as they go to see Anton Valen, a known criminal, in broad daylight in a public space. They tell him to go kill Murphy at a hospital and he doesn't have to worry about the police because they'll be the ones investigating. And it seems that Valen is both dumb and dirty too because he takes up the offer, believing that the same two guys who couldn't even prevent somebody from their own precinct from getting close is gonna protect them. Really? Anyway, right after Murphy visits Lewis, he goes home to deny his son affection and bang his wife, but right before she can get her tits out, the car alarm goes off. And when Murphy goes down to check on the car blows up, severely injuring him. Here's the thing though, Valent's man planted a bomb on Murphy's car while he was still at the hospital, which means Murphy got in his car, drove it home, got out of his car, went inside the house, took his wife upstairs, unzipped his pants, and then the car alarm went off. You'd think a criminal with access to weapons would have bombs that can detect actual car activity and not boner activity. Or was it on a timer? And if so, why was the timer set so late? Murphy might not have been anywhere near the car when it blew up. But Murphy survives the explosion, and it gives Batman and Dr. Gordon the ideal candidate they need to put a man inside a robot. They get Mrs. Murphy to sign the release form because he's not legally dead and they can't do anything they want with him, and thus the RoboCop part of RoboCop begins. Murphy wakes up and he's now a made-in-China robot. They didn't wipe his memory, which just might be the single cruelest thing they do. Or maybe the cruelest thing they do was the fact that they let a pissed off robot in combat mode run through a farm, putting all those people at risk. But it do show us that Murphy is now all robot except for his face, lungs, and right hand? Why save the right hand? They took away his dick. What's he gonna do with his right hand? And also, how did Murphy know that wasn't his brain? I mean, how often do you open up your own skull to check what your brain looks like? But this scene is actually pretty cool though, because you really see the emotion in Murphy's face as he's realizing what's happened. But the scene is kind of ruined by Dr. Gordon saying that it'd be almost impossible for him as a doctor to just pull the plug on Murphy, when they literally just got him back to the lab by shutting him down. Clearly, it's not that close to impossible. And it turns out the RoboCop part of RoboCop hasn't started, because now we've got to sit through a training scene to establish Cue Ball as the kind of bad guy. Now Murphy fails the training because the human part of RoboCop causes him to not fire his gun right away when he sees a child has been taken hostage. But wasn't that the point? To have the efficiency of a robot but the compassion of a human? This was actually a successful test, but oh no, Batman wants more and makes Dr. Gordon go back to China to do what needs to be done. And wait a minute, why did Dr. Gordon leave China to talk to Batman in the United States? That could have been a FaceTime call. How are you gonna travel around the world just for a 2-minute chat? And we still ain't got to the RoboCop part of RoboCop, because now Dr. Gordon has to go fix something that isn't even broken. So Murphy has to go for another combat test, and Dr. Gordon explains giving him the illusion of free will, which is why he performs better. Barbara questions her dad's methods, saying that he circumvented the law by making a machine that thinks it's a man, to which Batman interrupts and mansplains, no, it's a machine that thinks it's Alex Murphy, and that's legal in my book. But the truth is they're both wrong, because it's not a machine that thinks it's Murphy, it's a machine that tricks Murphy into thinking that he's in control. Clearly none of them are paying attention. RoboCop goes home to be a family man and tells his son that he can't watch the Red Wings because his suit needs some special handling. I'm not sure he fully realizes they took away his dick. But anyway, he goes to see Lewis and tells him he's going to take down Valen, and then Lewis says, at least I know you're the right color. Because, you know, he's black and Lewis is black, and I don't know, was that supposed to be an ethnic bonding scene? But now it turns out that Dr. Gordon is also dumb and dirty, or at least just dumb, because he decided to upload a whole bunch of new information to RoboCop's brain right before a public appearance. Why wasn't that done long before they arranged it? Like, who you think he is, Neo? That's like a singer trying to learn a whole new song 2 minutes before they go on stage. Are you mad? So yeah, Murphy crashes because Windows 10 can't take that much information at once. Dr. Gordon fixes him again by taking away his emotions, making him
more machine now than man.
And just as a side note, when Dr. Gordon tells everybody to get out, he should have said, everyone get out, and then follow up with, RoboCop goes out into the crowd and assesses everyone for threat levels, and he must be broken because he looks directly at Batman and assesses him as a non-threat. Batman, a non-threat. Are you mad? After RoboCop arrested a wanted criminal hiding out in the crowd and Nick Fury celebrates, Dr. Gordon lies to Mrs. Murphy's face, so yeah, he is dirty as well as dumb. And once again, really, that could have been a phone call. It's bad enough that he's lying to her, he gotta do it in her own house too? Bit disrespectful. But we finally got to the RoboCop part of RoboCop. Now look, I don't want to compare this to the original because, well, come on, that's just not fair. But 2014 RoboCop is about 10 minutes longer than 1989 RoboCop. But 1989 got to the RoboCop part of RoboCop at about the 30-minute mark, which means we got about an hour and 10 minutes of RoboCop. 2014, however, got to the RoboCop part of RoboCop at around the 1 hour mark, leaving only about 50 minutes of RoboCop. So they took twice as long and still gave us less RoboCop. Bro, why is this film even called RoboCop? And who programmed in Totally Stoned as an assessment result? And if you know he's totally stoned, what makes you think anything he tells you is going to be reliable? Dude probably don't even know what's going on right now. After this, you know, he ran back to his dealer like, yo man, that was some good shit, bro. I saw talking robot and everything. I gotta get some more. Dealer was like, well, there ain't nothing free, there's no guarantee. You're on your own, the Lord of the Jungle. Whoa. And you can't accelerate a motorcycle if your hand is not on the throttle. Or is this a special motorbike? If so, can you explain that please? And I know he's a robot and all, but his gun changed hands real quick. Alright, so Barbara and Dr. Gordon have a private conversation about Mrs. Murphy not being allowed to see RoboCop, but then Mrs. Murphy just goes to see him anyway. So that whole restraining order talk was just pointless. Anyway, RoboCop starts feeling things again, breaks protocol and investigates his own crime scene. So Boss Lady tells Dr. Gordon to shut him down for not following orders, and Dr. Gordon replies, as far as I can tell, he's still doing his job. That may be so, but Boss Lady is in charge of the cops, and if a cop isn't doing what they're supposed to be doing, that's her call. Look, he used to be the commissioner. He ain't no more. How they gonna make her walk away like she ain't got no authority over the equipment being used in her precinct? Are you mad? So RoboCop solves his own crime, which results in a shootout with Valen and the boys. Now, how does a whole bunch of bad guys, all presumably with 50 cal guns, all presumably aiming for the head, still fail? I mean, I know he's a robot and all, but come on, are these guys ex-stormtroopers or something? RoboCop kills Valen, then finds the dumb and dirty cop's fingerprints on Valen's gun. Seriously, did nobody think to wear gloves or clean the guns? No, you know what, never mind. So Murphy goes to confront the dumb and dirty cops and brings receipts. And of course he shoots the black guy first because he may be a robot, but he is still a cop. And then he goes to confront Boss Lady because one of the dumb and dirty cops gave her up. But Cue Ball shuts him down right before she can say anything. The rest of the movie is actually even more pointless than everything that happened before. Murphy has already solved his own crime. They insinuate but never confirm that Boss Lady was involved. There's a whole back and forth with Batman and Mrs. Murphy because he told her that Murphy was dead when he wasn't and tries to backtrack his words. There is a pretty cool gun battle with RoboCop and the Ed 209s. Gotta give credit for that. And then RoboCop can't shoot Cue Ball because of course he's a red asset. You remember how earlier in the movie they established that RoboCop can't shoot red assets? Yeah, that's because they didn't. What they did say, however, way in the beginning of the film is that a red asset has never been lost, not that the robots are programmed to not shoot red assets. Also, Murphy was getting shot to shit by Ed 209 until Lewis stepped in front and it stopped shooting. Now, the reason it stopped shooting is because Lewis was obstructing the target. You remember how they established that the robots don't shoot if their target is obstructed? Yep, that's because they didn't. What they did say, however, is that the robots don't shoot if you are unarmed. Apparently somebody set them on Predator mode. But if the Ed 209s don't shoot if you're unarmed, why didn't RoboCop just put his gun down? Or didn't Dr. Gordon tell him that? Here's the thing though, considering that Ed 209s told the other cops to put down their weapons and no one would be harmed, surely that means that the Ed 209s knew that Lewis and the other cops were not just obstructions and were aiding Murphy's escape, making them enemies. Yeah, Lewis's story should have ended there. He does get shot later though, so I guess it kind of evens out. Oh, and also, that's now the 4th time Lewis has got shot while going along with one of Murphy's harebrained plans. Anyway, the film ends with Murphy going to arrest Batman, but Batman of course is a red asset. RoboCop does get the dead or alive, you're coming with me line in, and after what feels like an hour, RoboCop finally fights past his programming and shoots Batman dead. RoboCop gets a new robot body, but didn't that thing cost like $2.6 billion, and with Batman dead, who's paying? And why did they bleep out Nick Fury's swear words? They didn't bleep out anybody else's. And does Mrs. Murphy know they took away his dick? So before I get into my final thoughts, if you liked this movie, check out these movies. They all involve robots living among humans, they're all adaptations, and they all suck. Except for Ghost in the Shell and iRobot. So why is RoboCop 2014 trash? One of the biggest issues with this film, in my opinion, is that it doesn't really know what it wants to be. It has a pretty serious opening, kind of alluding to the morality of replacing people with robots and effectively using Iranian citizens as guinea pigs. Something that at least a few Iranians aren't in favor of and are willing to die in order to send a message that they don't want the robots there, an act that potentially echoes the sentiments of other Iranian citizens. Generic military general even uses the phrase, "The honest people over there really appreciate it," which is what is called a dog whistle. A seemingly innocent phrase that is actually saying, anybody who doesn't like the robots being there is a dishonest person, so why should we listen to those guys anyway? So it feels like it's setting up a film to be a metaphor for American foreign policy, but then it switches to Murphy telling the story to Boss Lady, and it's almost as if somebody told the director that Frank Miller wrote the script. And the rest of the film similarly goes from cheesy to serious, back to cheesy throughout, and I don't mind a cheesy film. Some of the best movies out there are glorious cheesy trash, but they know what they want to be and they just fully embrace it. RoboCop is like the 30-plus-year-old dude that wants to go in a bouncy castle but is too scared that people might call him a weirdo, so just ends up staring at all the kids until somebody calls child services. And then beyond that, the film really doesn't have a point, because in the end it wasn't about American foreign policy. That whole opening was just so we know what a red asset is, and they didn't even explain that properly. It's not really about the morality of putting a man inside a machine either. There's nothing about the social implications of attempting to replace people with robots, of which there are many. RoboCop is pretty much welcomed with open arms, even though not long before that, 72% of Americans won't stand for it. So what happened to those guys? It's not even really about Alex Murphy solving his own crime. Anton Valen and the dumb and dirty cops have nothing to do with the final outcome. They suggest that Boss Lady was protecting them and Omnicorp had dirt on her, but that goes nowhere. But let's talk about the final outcome. RoboCop going to arrest Batman for the attempted murder of a police officer. Which police officer? Alex Murphy? Okay. When? When did Batman attempt to kill Alex Murphy? Was it when he's in a Batcave with Barbara, Robin and Q-Ball and asks, "What's bigger than a hero?" To which Q-Ball replies, "The dead hero?" Or was it when he was talking to Dr. Gordon and says that they failed Murphy and Dr. Gordon asks for 10 years of funding? Or maybe it was when he was on the phone with Q-Ball and says, "Get it done." At no point prior to the rooftop scene did Batman give any order or make any attempt himself to have Murphy killed. In fact, you could even say that the only reason Batman told Mrs. Murphy that Murphy was dead is because Dr. Gordon pulled out the transmitter from Murphy, making it look like Murphy had been terminated. Now look, yeah, I get it. It's all nuance. We know what Batman is inferring because we can read between the lines. The point is, the movie lets us know what's going on. Well, kinda. But it doesn't show how Murphy goes from thinking Dr. Gordon was the guy that shut him down to killing the guy who funded the whole operation, a guy who he's literally only met twice, and the second time assessed him as a non-threat, all because the first guy who's been lying to him the whole time said so. Here's the thing, I know with these videos that I nitpick and I make fun of movies, but I do try to point out why some films might not be as bad as you think they are. I'm not gonna lie, I'm struggling with this one. I am struggling. And really, it's not that I hate the film or anything like that. I really don't. I think once you can accept it for the directionless mess that it is, it's actually a really enjoyable film. But objectively speaking, outside of a few cool bits, it just doesn't come together that well. And that's a shame because Joel Kinnaman's performance is pretty solid throughout. In fact, all the performances are solid. And even though this movie is hard to defend, I honestly would not mind a sequel. Maybe something where Murphy goes after Boss Lady and we find out about the dirt that Omnicorp has on her and why she allegedly did what she allegedly did and whether or not that causes any kind of moral conflict with Murphy or whatever. I'm just saying, I don't think it's impossible for a sequel to turn it around. But that's what I think of RoboCop 2014. What do you think of RoboCop 2014? Dumb and dirty or just dumb? Let me know down below, and while you're there, be sure to like, subscribe and drop a suggestion if you don't mind.